Folks, welcome in. My name is Mex. I have been getting a lot of questions about MechaBREAK from people who are interested in playing but don't really know if it's for them or where to start. Today we are going to go over those questions, which will be covering this game's approachability, finding what's right for you, and basic fundamentals. Starting with the question I've been seeing the most, is MechaBREAK as overwhelming as it looks? Totally reasonable reaction, the explosions, the movement, all of that. It's a lot to take in if you're a spectator. It's a lot less daunting when you're in the game and is really where the excitement and the power fantasy come from. The gameplay itself is surprisingly intuitive, especially on controller. The majority of your commands are single button inputs similar to Gundam Evo, and the movement is as responsive as Armored Core 6 if you wanted something to compare this to. As long as you have a general understanding of what your striker can do, you can almost get by with button mashing. For me, the most jarring aspect of this game is the UI and how overwhelming the menu can be. After a couple of hours you get used to it and it starts to make sense, but it definitely does take time to settle. Worth noting that I'm also making this video at the tail end of the beta, so this is something that might be addressed when the game goes to full release. When you first launch the game, you start off in a 15 to 20 minute long tutorial that consists of a quick PvE style mission to learn the basics, then a couple of PvP matches to give you a feel for the pace. It is unskippable, so factor that time into your schedule if you plan on jumping right in with friends. Worth noting that if you switch servers, you will have to do this tutorial again. There is also a robust customization system that I spent a lot of time on. Beyond pilots and strikers, you can also customize your HUD. You can set inputs for specific strikers. That last bit is extremely helpful for people who frequently swap characters because each suit plays very differently, so not having to remap every input when you switch makes that a lot more seamless. This is a good segue into the next question I get asked the most, which is which striker should I start off with? There are essentially 4 different types of strikers, and each one has its own unique skill set, so it really depends entirely on your own preferred playstyle. You have your attackers, which are the most diverse of the different classes, varying from high flying speeders, melee specialists, and then your beefcakes that only know destruction and explosions. Akin to the beefcake, attackers are the equally chonky defenders, which are the ideal unit for those late Friday nights and you're 14 high noons deep with the buds and just want to plant yourself near an objective and spam your abilities. You have 2 sniper options that fit 2 very specific playstyles. There's your sit back and be patient stealth sniper and your dummy thick piss missile that hovers over the map and takes out everything below. Lastly, we have the support characters, which are obviously very passive. They aren't totally useless in actual combat, but their strengths lie in making sure that their teammates are protected and healthy. I do my best to mix things up because each suit has its own charm, and I strongly encourage players to do the same. There is no one-size-fits-all, and some days one suit just feels better than the other. In addition to that, the sandbox also looks like it's going to be changing constantly, so being a one-trick pony could come back to haunt you if and when your favorite unit gets nerfed into oblivion. Last question I get is just outright, how do I play this game better? So we're going to cover a few basic fundamentals. Each PvP mode is associated with a map, so A, understanding the objective and doing your best not to get lost solely in the combat, and B, taking time to actually learn the maps. Different strikers have their own advantages and disadvantages on different maps, so knowing your arena can help you decide who you want to roll with. This rolls into the next point, which is the most important thing to pay attention to in my opinion, and that is team composition. Team balance is a major factor in getting that W. Easy example, if you know your team is loading in without a support, consider filling that role and your teammates will thank you for that. Just make sure your team has a little bit of everything. The last piece of advice I have is one that I constantly need to remind myself of, and that is to budget your energy. It's so easy to get impatient and zoom right into an engagement, only to find yourself cornered, out of gas, and then you're dead. And that's it. You're ready. You can play MechaBREAK now. Thank you for coming by the channel today. Please remember to hit that subscribe button. You can also drop a follow on Twitch, TikTok, and Twitter, which are linked below. Take care, make good choices, enjoy MechaBREAK.